going on, everyone? So a couple months ago, there was a report that some people internally within the Lakers are kind of in favor of potentially hitting the reset button and rebuilding. Now, obviously, it was a few months ago before we knew what the end result was, and everything would kind of hinge on how this season went out. Well, now we know Lakers were eliminated in the first round in 5 games to the Denver Nuggets. So kind of highlights again that idea and that sentiment of like, should the Lakers maybe potentially look to rebuild in this upcoming offseason? Now, of course, this is something that I want to hear your thoughts and opinions, so make sure you join the discussion down in the comments below. Also, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. But to me, I think no option should ever be off the table, right? If you get some like insane trade offer for LeBron or AD that's just like, man, we can't turn this down. You get like 10 first and, 3 quality players or, something insane, then yeah, like you gotta, if the deal makes sense, right? If it makes dollars, it makes sense, then you definitely explore it. I don't think as a good GM, no options should be off the table. But I also look at this as like, hey, we are the Lakers, right? We don't rebuild, we retool. If you're old enough to remember the old model, right? What was it, 2004 or whatever, right? Like that was the thing, right? The Lakers, they don't rebuild, they retool. And we went through that like 6-year hiatus where we were like every year getting a top draft pick and we were one of the worst teams in the league, and it's like it's frustrating, and then LeBron comes and we get Anthony Davis and boom, we're back into contention. To me, I do believe LeBron James and Anthony Davis are enough to still potentially lead you to a championship. I mean, outside of Denver, the consensus was like, hey, if the Lakers can beat Denver, they win the championship. They should be favored to win the championship if they beat Denver. It's just like there's one team that seems to be the mountain that the Lakers cannot overcome. But everyone else, it was like, oh man, the Lakers should be able to beat. They match up well. So I don't know how you go from like, hey, this team is good enough outside of Denver, you just got to kind of figure out this one team to, we should hit the reset button, we should rebuild. Again, depending on what the options are and depending on how things shape up this offseason. Now, I don't believe LeBron James is leaving. I don't. He's here for more than just beyond basketball reasons. If he was just solely basketball reasons, he never would have came to the Lakers to begin with when he came to the Lakers. There were other teams that were much more well-equipped for him to go win multiple championships. He wanted here because his family wanted to be here. His kids wanted to go to school here, right? Obviously, Bronny, we'll see what happens with him. But even his other son, Bryce, like he's going to be starting school soon. So like there's a lot that goes into just LeBron, the Lakers, and him being in Los Angeles, his businesses, stuff like that, right? I'm not saying he's going to finish his entire career. I do think at some point, maybe he goes and finishes a stint with his son, or maybe he does the I'm ready to retire route where you go to your old team, the one that drafted you, goes back to Cleveland for a year or whatever, and just kind of ends it, on a $10 million year contract or whatever once he's ready to really hang it up. I could see something along those lines. But this year, don't necessarily see LeBron leaving. Now, it's always an option. It's always a possibility. Just think it's kind of limited, right? But even if LeBron were to leave, I still don't necessarily think you rebuild if you can go get that other star. So, like, let's say LeBron's like, I'm leaving. I'm going to Philly, right? Philly can sign him out, right? Say he's like, I'll go play with Embiid and Maxey, right? Let me go sign in Philly. And he leaves and goes to Philly. If the Lakers now all of a sudden have a bunch of salary cap and, let's say D'Lo ends up opting out and stuff, and now Lakers have a bunch of stuff to kind of retool, and you can go make a trade for, let's say, Donovan Mitchell, right? Now you got Mitchell, you got Anthony Davis, and you got some real cap space to kind of build this roster out, then no, I think go for it. See what you can do. Can you get some complementary pieces, right? Now, because LeBron doesn't have to play the 4, can you go get a legit center, right? Maybe you're signing a Valanciunas, right? And maybe you go get, some premier free agent, win or something, right? Like maybe you can entice somebody to leave or something, right? Maybe you could go pull off another trade even after Donovan. Like there's options there. Or maybe you work something out in a sign and trade with LeBron and you can get some pieces that then maybe you can use, or even if you don't like those pieces, you can now flip to go get something else, right? I think it just depends on the circumstances. But also, if let's say none of that does happen. Let's say LeBron, again, same analogy, LeBron leaves and goes to Philly, right? And let's say we miss out on a Trey, we miss out on a Donovan. It's like we just aren't able to get that other star. I Instead of like going and getting like a DeJounte Murray and a couple other pieces, and it's like Anthony Davis is our only star, like then I'm not against hitting the rebuild, right? Like if LeBron leaves and you can't get that other star to pair alongside Anthony Davis for the long term, because at some point LeBron's going to leave anyway. So at some point it's going to be Anthony Davis, ideally Anthony Davis and another said star. So why the Lakers like the idea of going and getting a Trae Young, because they look at it as like, hey, LeBron's not going to be on this team forever. When LeBron leaves, we have Trae and Anthony Davis as a foundation, as a building block long term. Now, I'm not super sold on Trae. It's just an example. We'll dive more into the Trae conversation as like the rumors come out and progress. Trust me, there's going to be a lot of conversation about Trae Young and the Lakers. But to me, it's like at some point you're going to have to do that anyway. So if like you can kind of just expedite it for a year, then fine. Right? Then at least if we can be competitive, be a good, even if we don't win the chip this year, at least they get kind of a year together, kind of figure stuff out. And then now we can go add those other complementary pieces to now maybe go be a championship contender the following year, right? So again, I just think it boils down to the circumstances given how it goes. But if all sort of star plans fall through, and Anthony, you basically got a bunch of role play, like let's say it's the same team as last year, but without LeBron, I don't think you really go anywhere, right? Like, could you be a play-in team again? Sure. Like, could you make the playoffs? Maybe. But, like, you're not winning a chip with just Anthony Davis and the role guys, right? So, to me, if that's the case, then tear it down, right? Trade Anthony Davis, right? I would trade, honestly, I would trade everybody at that point. Like, because I know some people might be like, well, you keep Rui, you keep Reeves, but they're all, like, mid to late 20s. Right? They're not all like if Rui was like 23, like I'd be like, yeah, sure, keep Rui, keep it. But he's older, like Reeves is older, right? Like, so to me, it's like just tear it down. Right? Like if you lose LeBron and then you end up going and you're trading and you're gonna trade Anthony Davis, go get that haul for Anthony Davis, keep Max Christie, keep Jalen Trevino, keep Maxwell Lewis, keep Colin Castleton, keep all like the young guys. Get whatever young pieces and draft picks you can get for an Anthony Davis trade. Get whatever young draft picks or young players and draft picks you can get for an Austin Reeves or Rui Hachimura, etc. And then now you have, a roster of 10. You're the youngest team in the league, 10 young guys. And now you're hoping to hit on a couple guys, kind of get some experience for that year, kind of hopefully hit that reset button. Hopefully one or two of these guys develop into a star, and then maybe you can go and kind of, maybe trade for another star later on down the road or sign a star in free agency if you have some money to work with, right? There's options there, right? It's the Lakers. They're always going to get that other star at some point. It's just, to me, it just depends on the circumstances. Ultimately, though, no, I don't believe that the Lakers should rebuild. Right? I don't believe the Lakers should trade LeBron James. I don't believe the Lakers should trade Anthony Davis. Again, if you get some insane, like if Cleveland wants LeBron and they're like, we'll trade you, they're just silly and they're like, we'll give you Donovan Mitchell and Jared Allen and whatever else for him, right? Like, it's like, what? Like, if it's something like ridiculous, then yeah, you do it. Right? Like, if the Sixers call up and are like, hey, we'll trade you Embiid for LeBron, like, yeah, you do it. But realistically, something like that isn't going to happen. So to me, unless you get some like just crazy offer, I do believe you listen to things. I do believe that you kind of, a good GM should at least kind of explore all open doors and see, hey, what's on the other side of that. But I don't think you hit the reset button. Again, how do we go from like, we're right there, and if we beat Denver, we win a championship, to, oh, blow it up, it's done. They're not good enough anymore. They can't win. And it's like, but like even Laker haters were like, man, did they beat Denver, then they win, right? Like, it just doesn't make sense. I mean, even in the offseason, it's like, oh man, like this team's good enough to win, right? It's just like you've seen LeBron James and Anthony Davis plus competent role players that make sense and fit lead to championships, right? Or real contention. I mean, the Lakers were just in the conference finals this year. If they didn't play Denver in the first round, which I'm glad that they did, right? If you're not good enough, you're not good enough, whether it's the first or the third. I wanted the smoke early on, but like if they didn't run, if like I say they ran into Denver in the conference finals, they probably go to the conference finals again. Right? Like if they were in the Thunder bracket, they're beating the Thunder in the first round, and then they're probably beating the Mavs or the Clippers, and then now they're in the conference finals, probably playing Denver. Yeah, they probably still lose to Denver, but no, now you're talking 2 years where they go back to back to the conference finals. Like they're right there. It's just I don't understand going from like, oh, we're right there to like, hey, tear it down, blow it up. Now I don't think LeBron is the LeBron. Like I don't know, like even in the Denver series, you saw LeBron get winded, you saw him get tired, like he looked it at times. Right? So I don't know if LeBron can give you that dominance that you necessarily need. And that's also why I kind of lean towards going and getting that third star or going and getting that like all-star level third piece. So that way LeBron can kind of like pick and choose his spots throughout the course of the regular season. And then even in the playoffs, he can kind of inject. The problem wasn't necessarily LeBron. LeBron, again, was great, but it's like nobody else shows up. And LeBron's not 27-year-old LeBron anymore where he can just go, all right, fine. Nobody else got it. Give me the ball. I'm just going to go win us this game. He doesn't have that anymore. But him as like your third guy, right? He'll never really be the third guy, but your third guy where he's basically kind of coasting, 30 of the 40 minutes of the game and just kind of plugging in spots. And then like in the fourth quarter, it's like, okay, let me turn it on so we can win this game, or every other game in the playoffs because you got like a Donovan Mitchell and Anthony Davis that are able to carry you for 3 out of the 4 games. It's like, all right, LeBron, we're going to need you for this game. It's a closeout game. Then fine. Like, that's different, right? So I just think, again, it depends on the circumstances. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. I pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? Are you in the camp of like, no, tear down, trade LeBron, trade AD, let's rebuild? Are you in the camp of like how I said, like it just depends on the circumstances, right? Like if LeBron ends up bailing, you can't get another star, go trade Anthony Davis, sure. Or you in the camp of like, no, you keep LeBron, you keep AD. Again, I don't believe LeBron's leaving. I believe LeBron James and Anthony Davis will be bare minimum the returning players on the roster next year. I think we'll definitely have a different looking roster, but I think LeBron James and Anthony Davis, I'm very confident. Again, nothing's 100%, but I'm like 99.9% that both these guys will be Lakers going into next year. But how do you feel? Love to hear it. Let me know down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.